What if you could study better and grow a side hustle at the same time? I know this sounds a bit like one weird trick, but I really do have an angle that I think would have helped me do much better when I was a student. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hello and welcome to Squares TV App Lab number 112, where I show you how to use the tools I've created to look better on video. I'm Michael Forrest. I'm a video pencil, shoot and QCam presenter. Hi Philip. I see that Philip's going to have the stream open. It's always nice. But let's start with some updates. So I spoke to Adrian Salisbury on Zoom last week, which gave me a little bit of sort of background envy. So that's kind of what I spent yesterday working on, because he does this course, look your best on camera without spending a fortune, and he's got like this. I was talking to him, and he's like, "It's all just so beautiful, isn't it?" Like he's got his sort of the colours were nice, and I was like, I need to sort it out, because I've been sort of living with this slightly kind of you can shine a light on it, but basically like this wall is kind of like a creamy yellow color, which basically means it doesn't really like it just sort of, it's hard to light it. If you shine too much light, it just kind of like blows out, or it doesn't really pick up the color. So really you want kind of like 80%, what is it, like 60% gray, 58% gray, which like is a perfect backdrop color because you can shine different colored lights on it, and then that's going to look okay. So and Adrian mentioned like peel and stick wallpaper, and I was like, I guess I was thinking about like acoustic treatment, but like actually I just need it to look better in my backdrop. So I got this peel and stick wallpaper, but I got it on Amazon, so it was kind of cheap stuff. And yeah, sort of like after a little bit of mucking about, it kind of looked like this. Because, you know, I like the colors. You see how much more it picks up the colors than, like, you see the blue, I'm sort of shining it as bright as I can on there. But if you sort of come back to this one, you can see like it's a lot deeper once it's on that grey. And actually, like, rather than having to have like a thing over the lamp, because otherwise it blows out the walls, I can just like, you know, have my lamp without a cover on it, and it will just like light the wall. But like, as you can see, it's sort of like yeah, I kind of realized this is the only one that's actually stuck to the wall, because I realized pretty early on that like I didn't quite have enough, but then when I pulled it off, the first thing that happened was it pulled some paint off the wall. So like I just decided, well, let's just try hanging it with a little bit and see what happens. But it just meant that, you know, I didn't put it all the way up to the ceiling. I sort of hung it like that. But you see, like where it was still stuck on the plastic, it was just like wrinkled up. So it just looked horrible. And here's what it did to the wall. So I sort of, I just sort of like put it up, tested it, and then just, yeah, just like managed to get the rest of it off without doing any more damage. You see, like if you saw me sort of pulling it off there, but I just kind of pulled it back off again, and then tried to sort of do this little jigsaw puzzle. So, you know, a bit of Pritt stick, put the bits back together. There, I fixed it. .com. So I thought, well, I have actually got some roller blinds downstairs in the garage, so why don't I just like, since the wall's already damaged, I'll just put up a baton along the top of the wall and just hang my blinds off it, and just then I'll have some blinds. But I sort of thought I'm probably just going to make worse holes. I do every time I try and put blinds up, I kind of mess up the wall. So I thought, well, what can I do it with command strips, which have been really useful for putting up acoustic foam, and they really come off properly. So in the end, I actually turned the blinds upside down. So this is the bottom of the blind, and then just like hung it. So you see here, that's like, you see the that's like the that's the top of the blind, and and I've actually got two, so this is like the top of the other blind with the thing. But yeah, basically here's a pro tip for you. Just command strip. Let's see if we can spot it. Yeah, just like command, that's like sticking out a bit too much, but just like command strip your roller blinds to the rented property wall, and that's kind of how that ended up looking. But yeah, I am looking forward to having a proper space one day. Philip said, blinds upside down. That's so smart. Is it? I don't know. It's desperate, if anything. So what else? Chris emailed me saying that if I made Video Pencil output a plain, like just a transparent drawing over HDMI, then he could use it with a switcher and save like $500 on a Magwell thing. So I was like, yeah, that'll take me 10 minutes. So I did that, 15 more to get it uploaded to the App Store. That was being annoying. But yeah, like, so now, You can. So how does this work? So you've got your ATEM, which has got your input. So you've got your camera coming in here. Camera is in there. And then what you can do with an ATEM is you can have another input, and then with the software you can set that up. So there's some some special software that you run, and you say, okay, I want this to be like the chroma key channel, right? Or I want this to be, yeah, the chroma key channel, or I want to composite some stuff together on my ATEM. So what you can do is you could have your ATEM like that. You could have your camera coming in, right? And then you could have Video Pencil on the output and see that camera feed on Video Pencil. But if you sent it back, then it would be like the full feed, including the camera. But by giving this setting, it means you can just send like the transparent drawing back to the ATEM, use it as a Luma key, basically. It's on a background. And now the ATEM can do the compositing. I think there are advantages to that. I mean, it just means that you're not kind of introducing that delay from everything coming via the iPad. So I sorted that out, and then to use that, if you're interested, it's just under settings. You can now go to include camera in HDMI output there. So it's just actually like the first option you see. Just that I can't draw. If I draw a line and then bring settings back up, oops, it's there. That's how to do it, isn't it? So that's the option. Include camera in HDMI output. So that was really that's a really good quick fix. Sorted that out. Another change I did was to support external microphones on the iPad. So recording with Video Pencil, it's a relatively recent feature. But I got this message on Discord, which I didn't totally understand to start with. But he's saying, like, currently I plug in a USB mic or use AirPods and test the recording. It uses the iPad microphone instead of the system audio. If I test something like voice memo, it uses the external mic. So I assume that there must be a setting or something. So I actually it was like this. I was discovering microphones instead of just using the default audio device. I love changes like that, but I did that, and so he's sorted now. And so now with Video Pencil, if you've got a nicer mic and you're recording stuff, then it's going to use the nice mic and not just the built-in mic. So that's a quick win. Other than that, I've been getting closer to a new QCam beta. Well, last week I was sick as well last week. I had a cold. I'm still looking, I think I look a bit of a mess still. But so I had a couple of sort of lighter days last week, but it was actually quite nice to work with a bit less pressure, and it made it a bit more fun to work on those QCam fixes. But this week I've actually been working on some stuff about emailing and sending so the webinars doesn't have an automatic email. On Sundays I've got a reminder, and I have to go to the website and press a button, and I have to not press the wrong button to send those emails out. And I was like, right, let's finally figure this out. But it's not as easy as on the hosting that I'm using for QCam as it was on the hosting I'm using for Squares TV. Heroku versus Fly.io. Fly.io is better for many things, but actually this was a bit of a pain. And some of my stuff did result in a bit of a server outage earlier. So sorry about that, because, if you've launched QCam, you might have seen some problems. So sorry about that. It wasn't for very long, but it was a side effect of something I didn't quite understand about how the authentication was working. But if you want to sort of see what was happening there, I've got a video on this channel. The last video on this channel is me very technically going into how to send emails on there. So basically, yeah, it was painful, but I'm getting onto some stuff, and it's really all about kind of bringing people back that have tried it. If you weren't aware that it now does some stuff that it does. So yes, so I'm confident that everyone can see me. That's always nice. Let's get to the main thing that I'm talking about. My little, here's a hack. Here's a hack. That explains why I was logged out of QCam, says Phil. Yes, sorry about that. Okay, let's get on to the main thing. Talking about the study hack that could save you money, that could make you money, not just save. So there's a well-established fact about comprehension that if you mix it with the right tools and processes, could help you do more than just pass your exams. So what is that? I'm done. Hello, students. Sorry, I went into hey, here are all the people that know what I'm doing and AV experts. I'm talking to you now, students, if there are any. I know there's some of you that have had a look at this. So what is this fact about comprehension that could help you with more than just passing your exams? It is that teaching is the best way to learn, right? teaching someone something else is a really good way to kind of make sure you understand it. And I certainly know that from making videos demonstrating the stuff I do all the time. It's really hard to teach something until you understand it, at least until you understand it better than you would if you were just cramming for an exam. So what is the best way to teach? These days, I would say the best way to teach is using video. So if you can turn everything you're learning into a sequence of videos, you're not only helping yourself, but you could be helping other people. Helping other people can very easily translate into getting paid. But so, that's kind of like my line of tenuous reasoning. I don't think it's tenuous. I think it's true. But how do you make these videos if you're already busy studying, right? And this comes very much from my experience. I am very busy working. You can see how stressed my face is. I have not got time to make videos, so I've made tools that make it so that I can make videos even though I don't have time. So the same if you're a student, if you're studying, the same thing applies, right? With the tools I've developed, it's possible to create high quality videos with just your Mac, iPhone, and iPad. The skills you learn will be highly transferable. You won't need to become a specialist content creator or video editor, but instead you're going to focus on communication skills that will help you in the real world for the rest of your life. Jeff says, grey walls, Dulux, wet granite or flat white matte emulsion. No, roller blinds, Jeff. I can't paint, it's rented. I can't just paint the walls. So let's talk about how to start banking your study sessions, not just in your brain, but maybe in the bank too. Right, so what does banking your study actually look like? So picture it, right? You've got your book, you've got your textbooks. Is that on an iPad? Probably. But it could be a real book. You could have post-it notes. Anyway, you're sort of studying away, trying to make sense of the material. You're noticing like key points, you're noting stuff down, you're marking stuff out, you're saving paragraphs or highlighting stuff or putting in little post-it notes or whatever you want to do to just like kind of try and like when you come back to it, it's going to be a bit less work to go through it all. You're just sort of trying to get through the material, trying to understand what you're doing. You're just sort of studenting away, right? And you're probably seeing this through the lens of an assignment or an exam that you've got to do later. It can be a little bit, well, I don't know what the exam's going to be. The assignment can be interesting, but like it's kind of giving you one lens on it that maybe doesn't necessarily lead to the best understanding of it. But actually, like if you can deepen your understanding of it, then it's going to make the assignment easy because you're going to like really know the text, right? But if you're thinking about teaching, you're also thinking now, like, how would I explain this to someone else? You're not just thinking, how am I going to remember all this for the exam? You're thinking like, well, how would I put this in my own words in order to kind of like talk to someone else about it? And in order to do that on video, you're going to need a video script. And so a video script is really useful because it's a lot more concrete than a loose collection of post-it notes or highlighted paragraphs and bookmarks. It's a concrete thing that you can, not in your hands, but you've got it on your screen in a way that like, when you're studying generally, it's going to be a lot more amorphous, right? And to write a script, you need to put your own structure on all that information so you can communicate it clearly. It's a different kind of headspace. So now you feel accountable to another person. So you really want to get it right? You wouldn't want to make a video that someone else sees or relies on if it had bad information, would you? Even if that other person is just your future self. So with a script, you need to distill information instead of just keeping everything, instead of just bookmarking everything and highlighting everything. Like you actually need to like distill that down into something that you can then explain to someone else. And that involves, and then with that, you're also collecting your quotes and citations and all that stuff along the way. But with my app QCam Presenter, a script, you can put a script together, but it's a lot more than just words. And I almost don't want to get too far ahead of just the words because the way that you kind of put that script together is I find it so useful. Like today, like earlier, the video I made, I was in the midst of this really convoluted process, and just by sort of taking a few screenshots and throwing them in, I was able to turn that into something that became a narrative, and I was just able to record a video of that in one take, upload it, now it's there. And it's the same thing for, if you're kind of reading through, you're like, oh, that's a good quote. Take a screenshot, take a copy and paste it into a quote in QCam. You've got that in a script instead of just like, oh, I should come back to that later, right? So what is a QCam script? So QCam Presenter lets you write these smart scripts, which is scripts that you can read from a teleprompter, which is what I'm doing right now sometimes. And it will also control what goes on screen, like stuff like this. So you can think of it, but you can think of it as sort of an inversion of how Keynote or PowerPoint's speaker notes work. Because with QCam, the speaker notes are first and foremost, and then but it's more about you on camera like a TV presenter than just like a dry deck of bullet points or something, and like you're just kind of putting everything into it, and then everything's like anchored to these visuals and these paragraphs of text and bullet points. No, it's anchored to you and what you're going to say, and then you're embellishing, right? So you don't need a slide for every single point, but you can very easily include text and images or video clips when you need them, like you've seen me do today, right? And then while you're writing, what that means is you can keep your hands on the keyboard instead of the trackpad. So you're not fiddling about with text boxes or choosing templates or trying to figure out why your slides already look ugly. You're just like on the keyboard and writing your thoughts and capturing your ideas and sort of like copying and pasting and moving things around in a way that just you're not thinking about like that. You're going to be mostly on camera, but you have that confidence that because you're writing your script that's going to go in your teleprompter, you're going to know what to say. And the bulk of that content is just going to be you. And all you've got to do is like make it look good and, have a nice time. And I just think that's a much better way to capture ideas, is hands on the keyboard than like mucking about with a PowerPoint and dragging these little text boxes around. So here's what a smart script looks like. So you've got your cue cards on the left. So each of these is sort of a card that goes in your teleprompter. And then some of this is tagged, and that then comes up as a title. But all you got to do is sort of add the tag in. So that's got a little kind of markdown open bracket, kind of angle bracket. And then you can sort of drag content in on the right. So this is like your video preview, and you can just say, okay, so for this one, I'm actually just going to bring this page and highlight this part of it. We'll zoom in, maybe you can do that. So you can sort of bring content in, and you can then like tag some text to create titles, quotations, footnotes, all these different kinds of things. So I'm not saying this is easy, but I'm saying that if you assemble what you're learning into a script that could become a video, your study is going to become a lot more focused. It's a way to unlock a feeling of social obligation or sort of social pressure in a safer way than you could do otherwise, because you're like, okay, like it's not like, oh, I've got a talk or an exam on Saturday, but it is like, oh, well, I might want to make a video of this, so I'd better kind of get a good handle on it so that when I press record that I'm ready. And maybe I don't share the video, maybe I do. So it's like there's a couple of layers between you and actually someone else seeing that. But like, how else is a really good way to get to that? Just like, and then beyond that, like you can be recording, watching yourself back. But I don't want to go off track. So once you've got a script, how do you then turn that into a video? Like you can basically shoot it in one take, like a presentation. That's how QCam works. That's how I like to operate. So much easier than dealing. Trust me, like I'm a decent editor. I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours and weeks of my life editing and editing and editing. Like I've got video projects that were just a month of solid editing, right? And shooting and stuff. So like but I just much prefer how the content comes out when it's in one take, as well as the fact that it doesn't take me weeks of work to make one video. I can just sort of like do it in one go. So yeah, it's more like a presentation than like recording a video, which then means that you're kind of developing your presentation skills, which you can just use in real life whenever you need to. You're practicing that speaking, and you're watching it back and you're seeing that. But anyway, you can shoot it in one take like a presentation, but how? You can. Well, I'll show you this in a minute, but unlike a normal presentation, you're actually going to be able to draw live. So you can say, okay, so this, and then I was thinking about this, and then we had this here, and then, but what about this? And who is this, right? You can be drawing, and you're not necessarily originating drawings, but you might be sharing a page. You can sort of like use the little laser pointer and go, okay, this is a really interesting part. Or you can be like, okay, I like how this sort of leads to that. There's all sorts of ways of annotating what you're talking about. So rather than like what's the best you can do in a kind of like normal presentation is like wave the little laser pointer dot. This is a lot richer. You can zoom in, draw on things. Um, and you're going to be able to, so you can do that with your iPad, which you can see what you're doing. You're also like controlling your presentation with your iPad as you go as well. You can stand a bit away from the camera, but you can also use your phone, your iPhone as a camera, as a teleprompter and a screen. As a camera, teleprompter and an extra screen. So, I have built these apps to work together seamlessly, and they're great for this kind of content. So you can see, like, I'm just like being able to just draw something. In a bit, you're going to see I've got my phone set up as a camera on the other side, and I'm going to bring that in later. But they're just great for this kind of content because all you've got to do is sort of like grab your Mac and grab your iPhone, and you're ready to go. So you'll set up your laptop with QCam. You'll put your iPhone on a stand. Or you can use like a selfie stick tripod, or you can use a bean bag on a pile of books. That's a really good trick for putting your phone on a stand. And then you can just like hold your iPad. And actually the iPad has controls, so you can navigate through the deck. You can even see your teleprompter if you show some stuff. If you sort of put in a picture, you're going to be able to see it on the iPad and draw on it. You can be picture in picture or not. And so there's loads of ways to kind of make really cool content, but it's all kind of in the moment. So the iPhone's front-facing camera, it's not the best one, but it does let you preview your recording on the iPhone screen. And with QCam, you're going to see your teleprompter so that you, don't have to learn your script by heart, which is, it's not only kind of, it's not only a different skill, I think it's a different kind of skill, but it also tends to lead to editing. So you sort of like do 6 takes of this line until you get it right, and then you kind of go back to your script, and then you do 6 takes, and then you end up like having to mark the best takes and put them into a timeline and stuff. With a teleprompter, you can just kind of deliver it to camera and like sort of iterate on that script a bit as you go. And then the other advantage of that, having it on your phone near the camera, is you're making eye contact with the camera as you go. So I'm able to talk, I'm looking through what I have to say, but I'm kind of looking at my audience, and that makes the content a lot more engaging, a lot more natural feeling. A lot more like a video, right? And a lot less like kind of a video of a presentation, like, which I think is a different kind of thing. They're not as good, right? There's always that awkward thing where there's the presentation, the speaker, and they don't really know what to do with the speaker in the video, and it's all a bit echoey. Like this way, you can actually be a lot more direct, and it lends itself to more of a sort of course creation, YouTube-y kind of feeling. So you can sketch as you go with your iPad, and with QCam, you can even cheat. There's lots of ways to cheat to get a good performance in the moment. Like, so for example, you could see if I've got anything good here. You could. This is a bit of a bad one, but you can actually load in an image on the iPad. Now you can't see this, but I'm going to now be able to draw a perfect-ish Apple logo. Okay, obviously I might need to practice that a bit more. But you can just like trace over something that the audience can't see. And so that obviously unlocks a lot of possibilities as well, because you can even just like draw yourself some guides so that you kind of draw the first thing in this box, draw something else in the next box. All sorts of ways you can make good stuff. So QCam helps you prepare so that you have everything ready when you go to press record. Now, so like you're shooting these videos, and that's all very well, but what if you want these videos to actually be watchable, right? It's all very well recording stuff, practicing, getting stuff that you're going to use later, but what if you want other people to be able to watch these? So I would say first and foremost, the most important thing you're going to need if you want these videos to be watchable is a good microphone. So, I can sort of cover you on the camera, on the script, on the teleprompter, on the iPad, on the drawing, on the tracing, on all this kind of stuff, bring in pictures, bring in content. But if your audio is bad, it's just not going to be a video. It's just going to be like an awkward phone recording. So you've got to get yourself a decent microphone. And so that can be, like a Bluetooth lav mic that just clips here, like lavalier mic. Just look for like a Rode, or there's another one, a Blackmagic one, I think. No, it's the DJI one. They're a bit awkward to set up with the Mac, I find, but you can do it. But just something that clips on is going to sound a lot better than the built-in phone mic. Or you can get like ooh, I should probably not move the microphone while I'm. Tell me if I messed up. I should never move the microphone when I'm live. But I've got a big USB microphone on my desk here. I should learn not to do that. Tell me if I'm like echoey and everything's gone wrong now. Sometimes it pulls out the connection. It's a bad idea when you're on stream. And then sort of the other hard part about this is going to be finding somewhere quiet that you won't be disturbed while you're recording. So thankfully I have a door that I can close and the toddler can scream and shout outside the door, and QCam's voice isolation kind of gets rid of that, thankfully. But yeah, maybe your university has like study rooms or video rooms. I don't know. Like, I used to go and practice the piano in like these piano rooms they'd have. So, that's, if it was 1996, I might do that. But, I'm sure they have. I know that I met a lot of people that were setting up these AV facilities in universities. So you might be able to sort of rock up with your laptop and your iPhone and iPad and just like do that in a room. But it's nice if you can do it at home. And QCam does have this voice isolation, which does help filter out background noise and stuff. But, the less work it's having to do, the better your audio is going to sound. And you are going to mess up a lot of recordings when you start out. Don't be disheartened. Nobody ever has to see those ones. Just stick with it. And before long, you're going to get good at it, right? You're going to start to see some good results. And then you can start getting feedback. If you're feeling really brave, you can show it to someone else. And you can, even just watching it yourself, it gets easier. And you're like, okay, right, I just need to do that less. Oh, why am I doing that with my eyes? Oh, like, why am I talking weird? Like, You'll kind of work those things out by watching back, and then you can show it to someone else and sort of get their reaction. And like that can be hard. That's something I've always been terrible at doing, but it is possible. And that's just going to help you improve. And that's the great thing about working with video again, is you've got this little artifact that you can watch back, which there's just not really another way to do that on planet Earth, right? So, and then the sooner you start, the better. The beauty of this method is that even if your first scripts suck and even if your first videos suck, you are still going to come out of the process having learnt and understood things in your subject matter than you would have otherwise, right? Even if you don't end up being like a content creator, like you educator, online this, selling courses, you've still understood the stuff. And when you go into the exam, you're going to be, oh, God, I did this 6 times. Like, I know this, right? Because you're sort of focusing. It's sort of like you're going to where the ball will be instead of where the ball is now, right? Maybe that's it. I'm not a sports person, but I think that's a good metaphor for this. Instead of like sort of aiming and missing for where the ball is, you're actually like kind of going through, and I think that leads to, I don't know, it's got to be a bit more relaxed somehow once it actually comes to doing the thing that you were studying. There's, as I say, like the video making and script writing side only gets easier, and each new chapter of your textbook, you're going to be collecting these videos that you can watch back again and again. And this also helps you, you're not only spotting flaws in your delivery, but you're also spotting gaps in your understanding. Once you put something on paper, on video, you're like, well, I wish I hadn't said that though, because now that I've read this, I'm like, not so sure about that. So it's like, even if the video isn't the final video, like it's really good to get something down and or out there, or certainly something that you've sort of like, you went and recorded that in the special room and now you've got another week till you can do another one. You're sort of like, I wish I'd sort of like focused on that. And it's just always helping you, I think. So yeah, how do you make money from this? So I think with regular helpful videos, you can build a following on social media or email list. But I don't think that's not what we're going for. This, like, if you're not trying to be an influencer here, like you're not trying to get millions of followers, you're not trying to like appeal to an oversaturated market. You are looking for an audience that is interested in the very specific thing that you're studying or interested in, right? So, and that might not even apply to kind of oversaturated subjects like the first parts of an undergraduate degree. Because you're much more likely to find an audience if your content is more specific. And the more specific it is, the more discoverable it is. So, if someone searches YouTube for medium energy ion scattering in crystal structures, they're going to find your content and they'll probably be ready to pay money for something that makes it simpler. That was my third year project, by the way. But I'm basically channeling Pat Flynn with the money side of this, right? Pat Flynn talks a lot about, why is that? What's happening there, I wonder? That's going to be fixed with the new engine. So Pat Flynn is sort of probably the go-to person for how to kind of build an online community, how to find an audience, how to make money. His origin story was he got made redundant. He was like studying for an architectural exam or something, but he basically published his study notes. People found them. He realized he could sell them. He made a ton of money like from selling these study notes for this exam. And that's kind of how he got started. It was a really specific exam, but it was like just at the right intersection of people needing that information and like the money that he was charging not being that much in the grand scheme of things. And there were just enough people for it to be worthwhile. So yeah, teaching is the best way to learn. I think that's the real takeaway. The money thing is fun, right? The money thing is the hook, but really, you're a student. You're trying to learn. You're trying to like learn that material. You're trying to understand it well. And if you've got a teaching mindset on, then you're going to be just much better placed. And I wish I'd known this when I was a student because well, I mean, actually, this wouldn't have been possible when I was a student, not without a camcorder with like, those little cassette tapes in them and all sorts of specialist equipment. You just couldn't have done it. This is like, I've made a piece of technology that just really could not exist until recent years with the sort of platforms that Apple have, as a solo developer, the platforms that Apple have made available. Anyway, nothing forces you to learn like the prospect of telling someone else. And I think it's basically like, I don't want to be embarrassed by my ignorance, right? With your advanced understanding of the subject matter that you're going to get from all this, exams are going to be easier. And after exam time, okay, you've done it, you've sort of crammed, maybe the videos fell off a bit, but you can look back and see if you've got something worth sharing. You don't have to like share as you go, but you can come back to it and go, okay, it's summer. Should we try and turn this into an online course? Let's have a look. And maybe you'd redo some of your early videos, but if you can create a decent sequence, you've got yourself a video study guide that you can sell on Gumroad. And next year, you're going to get some students going, this is too hard. I wonder if there's any videos. Oh, there are. The first two are free. Oh, the next are $39 or $150. And they're going to go, yeah. Especially the ones that are like, have very, very rich families and they're just kind of like willing to pay whatever because they don't care. Remember those ones. Or not. Like either way, you're developing skills that will help you learn and communicate for the rest of your life. So that's really like whatever happens, like you're developing presentation skills, you're developing these technical skills that, I talked about it last time, job interviews, work stuff like contracting, building a business, like all video is just like key to all of that. So I hope that's interesting to you. I hope that was, feel free to fire off any questions, reach out to me. Like I'm happy to talk about this more. And also if you do this, please tell me and so that I can like tell other people that it did actually happen. It wasn't just an idea I had. Right. So it's just going to go to the it's just going to do that. And then we're going to come back to the main presentation. You can come and find us on Discord, squares.tv/Discord. There's a good few hundred people in there. And so if you need help with any of this stuff, there's probably someone in there while I'm asleep in your time zone. So you can come on there. So yesterday, when I was reorganizing, I did sort out my piano a little bit, my music gear a little bit. So I'm going to sit down and noodle for a bit to sort of play us out. So don't forget to subscribe and like this video so the algorithm knows it's worth seeing or the channel's worth something. I'm not just like spamming out random stuff. Thank you so much for coming and joining today. And you are always welcome to reach out personally if you have any questions or ideas. So let's go over to the music rig. That's what we're looking at. Maybe I should like just be picture in picture doesn't always come back if it's not on the card. Let's just come back because I first need to go view, add audio input, Zoom L20 driver. So then should be able to hear things. And we are here. I could probably, I'm going to get onto the remote camera controls and just like pull down that brightness a little bit. Or not. Is that live? Yeah, that's live. Sorry, I'm just trying to get okay, that's working, but the exposure, I'm just trying to get the exposure to let's just go auto, let's just pull that down. Just trying to get the brightness down a bit. Is it just going to be a slower shutter? Ooh, no. Okay, let's just go auto. We're going auto. We're going full auto. Okay, let's try and pull this down. There we go, there we go. Maybe not quite that much. Right, and then I can come on camera, mute my main mic. Thanks everyone again, and don't judge me if this sounds terrible. Hello, hello. Something is beeping, but that's okay. Something is making a noise. Whoops, sorry. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Ooh, loud.